Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it is that you inky savages are joining us for episode number 143. Is that right? 143?
That's what
of
it
the
says on the top
PenBoyRoy
left.
Entertainment of the PenBoyRoy Entertainment Podcast. Thanks again for joining us. I do apologize. You have my sincerest apologies for last week not being able to publish an episode. I was very busy and was not able to. But moving forward, looks like smooth sailing, so it doesn't look like there'll be any issues. But thanks again for joining us. So, some new developments in the world of fountain pens that I'm going to talk about real quick because it ties into sponsorships. So, we have a new pen by GIOIA. It's part of the Partenope series. Now, the Partenope series is causing some confusion because there's another brand that is Italian, that is also using the Partenope. So GIOIA has concerns. So those concerns are by advertising their own pen, they'll be accidentally and inadvertently advertising people to the other pen brand, which I'm not going to mention because they're not sponsoring the show. But just so everybody is aware, there is a new pen out called the Partenope Alba, as in, or think spelling like Jessica Alba, but has
Or
nothing to
Idris
do with
Alba? Or is that the different one?
Idris Al. I don't think it's spelled the same.
It's not spelled the same way? Okay.
I don't know. You could look that up.
I'll look it up.
But it's the Partenope Alba. It's a gorgeous swirly acrylic, and it is a cartridge converter. In addition to cartridge converter, it also includes with it a section that you can screw on after unscrewing the fountain pen section and replace it with a ballpoint tip, if you were so inclined to do that. But for me, converting a fountain pen into a ballpoint pen is like converting a Porsche into a skateboard, right? So you can do that if you want. It's there for you. But the Partenope Alba is a gorgeous pen. I don't have it with me. I actually took it to work with me just to use it and play with it, and then I forgot to bring it home today, unfortunately. I'd love to show it to you, but we could also bring up some screens for you later to look at. But the Partenope Alba is available at your favorite retailers. Now, one of your favorite retailers is probably Goldspot Pens. Unfortunately, Goldspot does not carry this pen, but if you were to look into purchasing this Partenope Alba, you could check out my good friend Ron over at Pen Chalet, who is not sponsoring the podcast, but whatever. He has the pen and Goldspot doesn't. So try coupon code GoodWords. It might still work. I don't know. I got to talk to Ron. But let's talk about Goldspot Pens. Goldspot Pens is home of pretty much everything else that you're looking for, including Leonardo, which is an awesome pen, and also some other luxury brands of America fountain pens. You can access Goldspot Pens in one of two ways. One way is super cool if you go down to the description in the show notes below and you click on my affiliate link, which helps me out and helps out this podcast. You go to that, you make your purchases, and don't forget to use coupon code, drumroll, I don't know if it's different this week. Is it different this week?
No, it's the same.
Coupon code OINK, OINK, at checkout for an additional savings on all products on the Goldspot website that you access through the affiliate link. And just be advised that although the coupon code works on all products, I shouldn't say all, most, there are some exclusions that do in fact apply because they're snobby brands. So, again, check out the affiliate link, use coupon code OINK at checkout for an additional savings. And finally, brlcoffeeco.com. Check them out. And at this website, be sure to use coupon code ROY for an additional savings on all products across the board at the brlcoffeeco.com website. They have great coffees. They got great swag. They got some pretty cool mugs that you can purchase. I love the stickers that they have. Some of them are pretty crazy and funny. And the best thing about the BRL Coffee Co. company coffee is that it's smooth caffeine, excellent flavor, and it does not give you crackhead jitters, which is always a plus. So again, please check them out. brlcoffeeco.com, and use coupon code ROY checkout. Now, again, thanks for joining us for episode number 143. Tom has got some cool things to talk about. I don't have to give him the third degree. Is that the third degree? I don't have to give him the third degree in terms of what to talk about with regard to Black Friday sales that are coming up at my sponsor, Goldspot Pens. And I also have a few things to talk about, so it's going to be an interesting episode. So before we get started with this week's episode, I just want to give you guys a quick disclaimer. This podcast is not scripted and therefore will contain potty mouth words, both from Tom and I, mostly from me. So be forewarned, you have been warned. Now, on to the podcast.
The PenBoyRoy Entertainment Podcast. Stay savage.
So you know what's actually really funny about how when I'm doing the sponsorship reads, you're like pointing at me and stuff like that? You're pointing at me because the orientation of the screen that you're seeing has me on your left,
right,
on your right, but the way this software works is sometimes it switches it. So on certain episodes while you're doing the pointing,
I'm pointing just off to the side of the screen.
Right, you're just pointing to somewhere else completely.
Well, that's funny.
Yeah. So I want to tell you about this place I went to, and it's fountain pen related, so don't click off just yet if you're watching or listening. I went to a steakhouse called Rare 650. Okay,
and they sell fountain pens there?
No.
No.
So Rare 650 is a steakhouse that is owned by the same people that own my favorite steakhouse called Opus Steakhouse. It's in Long Island, New York.
Okay.
They have the same amazing 44-ounce American Wagyu Snake River Farms tomahawk steak that I always get. And they have the same truffle butter that you can pour all over that steak. So delicious. But the whole point of this story is we had a server, and his name was Marty. Good server. Nothing to say except good things about this dude.
Right.
And what made me like him was the fact that he was enthusiastic and spunky. But what made me like him even more was as he was writing down our orders. Oh, and that's another thing. The fact that he was writing down the orders instead of just memorizing it as we're saying it. And the reason why that's important to me is because I hate when my order shows up messed up, right? And if they don't write it down and then it gets messed up, it irritates me even more. So he was writing it down. And as he was writing it down, I noticed something. He was writing it down with a silvery looking pen. And it caught my eye, so I looked a little closer, and guess what it was? It was a Jinhao X750 in chrome.
Oh, okay.
So while he's writing down the order, I actually had to stop and say to the members at my table, I feel very close to our good friend Marty here, because he's writing with a Jinhao X750 fountain pen. And he was just like, oh yeah, I love the way he writes, and he started talking about how he likes these days, and as of recent, writing with fountain pens. And then he whipped out another pen that he said he likes the Jinhao better than this pen, and he pulls out a Pilot Varsity.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's like, I feel like these are a little too scratchy, and they're too chintzy. Mm-hmm. So I really like this Jinhao. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And I asked him if he was writing it filled with converter or cartridges, and he's actually a converter guy.
Okay.
So it was a really good experience, not just because the steak is amazing.
Lots of credit to a server being able to use that, on the fly, because that's probably, especially with the tickets that they write on, is that, you would imagine that paper is not going to be too great for fountain pen use, or maybe they use like some good quality paper for their restaurant,
I doubt it's the good quality paper. From what I was looking at, it's those waiter papers that they use, so that it's like carbon paper, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I gotta imagine that stuff's not really that great to write on either.
Probably not, but yeah, kudos to him. I feel close with our good friend Marty over.
Did you happen to name drop a certain YouTube celebrity that he was serving at the moment? And it's like, hey, if you wanted to take a look at other pens that you might be interested in, you might want to check out this YouTube channel, this guy called PenBoyRoy. It's like, oh, is this the same person that is at the table currently? I have the credit card signature of? Is that what it is?
It's as if you were there. Wow. Am I that predictable? Am I that easy to read? Because that is exactly what had happened. I did refer him to my YouTube channel, podcast, Instagram, and all that good stuff.
Did you happen to have a few pens on you that you just decided to throw one at him and be like, "Hey, here's a Conklin Durograph that I happen to just have in my pocket"?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. I wish I did though. But I actually did not. So, but it was almost like, you know what it feels like? And I bet you I can speak for a lot of people who are watching and listening. You know what it feels like when you're out in the world and you come across someone randomly who's using a fountain pen? It almost feels as though I reunited with a friend, a long-lost friend. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, there could have been so many different things that annoyed me about that person, and I could have disliked the person from jump. But the moment I realized they're fountain pen enthusiasts and they're using fountain pens, I immediately discard all the reasons I dislike them, and then I now like them. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't have any complaints about that restaurant. But if we did, they all got extinguished in that moment.
It's like,
You know what I'm saying?
my steak was like kind of well done as opposed to medium rare. How I asked for it, and but he had a fountain pen, so yeah.
I'm just gonna, let this one go.
Let's just let that go. I kind of feel like it's almost as if you found your people. You see it out in the wild, and you're like, oh, my people. We have something we could talk about. We could instantly have a discussion, and it would be fun. And they would be like, oh my god, this is amazing, because no one else I know enjoys these things. And it's like, I do. That's me.
You know what it's like? It's like, do you remember that Tom Hanks movie, Castaway? Where, he was shipwrecked on an island all by his lonesome fucking self.
Yes.
The feeling that I get when I meet someone who's into fountain pens randomly is probably a lot like the feeling Tom Hanks would have gotten if, while he's on that island all by himself, he runs into somebody. That's the feeling. It's like, oh my god, it's you, whoever you are. I don't know you, but I love you. That kind of thing. You know what I mean? And that's the kind of feeling that it gave me, and I was like really happy about it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because you know why? We connect with so many different people who are fountain pen enthusiasts. We connect with people through social media. Right? And this interaction just reinforces and reminds me more and more that nothing beats human interaction. Nothing is better than interacting with a person face to face. Right? So I definitely was more thrilled running into a fountain pen enthusiast in person than I am when I run across somebody on social media, or if I see a fountain pen in a movie, that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Definitely more enthused about that. But that's not to say I don't appreciate the people that I do interact with on social media. All right? There's a value to the social media because you get to know people that you would otherwise never have gotten to know, right? Like, I can just throw up a full bunch of names. Obviously, my good friend Vanessa Langton, we became very good friends over social media. We have Carrie Bullet Journal, Skater Cruz, Marilyn Gardner, all these people, right? Just, we're all connected in the sense that we all have the same love for fountain pens. We have something that is uniquely niche, and it's just a very cool thing. Like, I'm just grateful that I know them. I'm grateful to fountain pens that because of fountain pens I got to know them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. But it's just rare to physically see that in person with just random people that you just come across.
Right.
It's far more common. You just like see people pulling out their phones and everything, and it's like, oh, I have an iPhone, you have an iPhone. I have an Android, you have an Android. It's like, well, but somebody pulls out a fountain pen, and all of a sudden it's like, ooh, it's like, all of a sudden the alarm bells just go off in my head.
Right.
It's just like, oh my god, that's amazing. You know,
isn't that cool?
Yeah.
But speaking of interaction with people, I missed out on a big one last week because of how busy and crazy my schedule got. Talk to me a little bit about what happened at the Red Bank Brewery for the Pelican Hub. Explain, talk to me about that. I saw a Facebook post and an Instagram post that you had put up, but what happened at the Pen Hub, the Pelican Pen Hub that happened?
It was a very interesting, fun, enjoyable night. We had a decent turnout. It was at least about, I'd say, anywhere from 20 to 30 total people, and we had a couple of tables. There's actually 3 or 4 tables we had in the place in Red Tank, and Red Tank's got those long kind of cafeteria style tables,
right?
And there's some bar stool type tables, and then there's a bar, and we all just kind of congregated around about 3 long tables, put out all of the Pelican swag, the flag they had. Goldspot brought bottles of Edelstein ink to fill up and try. I brought all of my ink samples from Ink Journal over the 5 years or so. My collection as it stood right now, I wanted to kind of give away some samples and thin out the herd a little bit. Mm-hmm. There was also some pens that were brought from the office, some exclusives, the new Appetite 205 pen that just arrived actually the day before. It couldn't have come any sooner than that, being that that's the pen, the Appetite ink and the pen are what the color scheme is all about when it comes to the hubs. Oh, so okay. It was like the pen that's the theme of the hubs is finally here. So, and then also Goldspot made a whole bunch of shirts to give away too. So there was a shirt for everybody that came to the event too. So we're giving away shirts.
Do you have a shirt to show us?
I do not, no. But okay. But I will remind myself I will send you one in the mail.
Okay, cool.
We do have extras, and we're trying to figure out ways of being able to divvy those out. I think we're actually going to give them to people that visit the office and pick up orders. And we have probably about at least 2-3 people a day that come now.
Oh, really?
Holidays. So yeah, they just come by and they swing by, pick up their order. Usually, I mean, there's no showroom there, so it's not like we could pull out a whole bunch of different pens and display them and things like that. But it's a great option that instead of having to wait for something to get shipped, you just, if you're in the area, just come by and pick it up, and
right,
it's fun.
Right.
So I mean, it was great in the aspect of we just had people, even one guy just brought, and he just almost kind of had his own display. He took up one section of the table and just put a whole zipper, 40 pen case zipper. Had Wancher pens that were in the display cases, in the wooden display cases, put them out. So people just were just basically almost setting up their little table like you would see at a pen show where a collector was just displaying all their pens for sale. But nothing was for sale. It was just here's my collection. Oh, you want, I brought some ink. Do you want to try this ink? Do you want I'll give you the bottle, you could fill up or whatever. So it's a great, very generous spirit going on, because you just had people just sharing and letting everybody handle and write with their pens or fill up using each other's inks or samples, and just sharing and exchanging ideas and all that fun stuff. And then on top of that, so that afternoon I was looking at the Red Tank Brewing Instagram, because I wanted to tag them on a post I was making.
Right.
So I checked their feed, and I was intrigued by one of their more recent posts. It was this Friday night we have a punk band and then a burlesque show. I was like, wait, what? Because we cleared this date months in advance with the owners, and we were we're gonna do the Pelican Hub thing from 6 o'clock onward, and there's no ending point to it. So they had scheduled there. It was supposed to be 7:30. They're gonna have a punk band come on and play, and they didn't come on until 8 o'clock. I was like, what the hell? So they didn't come on until 8 o'clock, and by that point, we already had about 2 hours in. We were having some good conversation stuff. They come on. They were actually pretty decent. I mean, I like listening to punk and rock music and stuff. they were pretty decent, but it just completely ruined like the ability to have a coherent conversation with somebody unless you were like screaming at them next to you.
Oh no, that sucks.
So then they were finished, and then probably about like 9 o'clock or so, it was like everybody was kind of wrapping things up. So I didn't get actually to see the burlesque show. I heard from my coworkers that some of them that went that it was somewhat tasteful. So I was like, okay, but I didn't stick around for that because I had to get up early for soccer the next morning. So
I don't think I know what a burlesque show is. What's a burlesque show? Is
it's
that like
not
a strip
necessarily
show?
like it's not. I mean, they don't get like naked, but like they're kind of like half naked to start off with. So they don't, but they just do like dancing around, So I mean, like I said, I wasn't there to see it, but yeah, I heard it was okay. It was tasteful, but I was just like, yeah. It was kind of like Step Brothers. You remember that part in Step Brothers where they have the what's it called? The Catalina wine mixer.
Yeah.
Where they have the cover band of the 80s Billy Joel.
Right.
And he's and the guy gets into a fight with the guy in the crowd. He's like play something from The Stranger. And and so I felt it was like that moment where it was just like, I was like, I had a planned event where I just wanted to have a conversation with people, and all of a sudden, like, they're gonna blow this thing up with having like a crazy performance going on.
Yeah. So how bad was it? Was it bad enough that people are like frustrated and left?
I think a few people were just kind of like, oh, I kind of have my fill, and there's really no, point in hanging out anymore since the music kind of came on and it just was drowning everybody out. So it's a few people left at that point, but then mostly everybody stuck around until after they were done, and then just kind of wrapped things up and headed on home after that. So
what was the cause of double booking the place? What did you talk to the owners about it, or the organizers or something?
Well, the owners are related to the owners of Goldspot, so they got to figure that shit out.
I hear you.
And I think Kieran had made mention that, it's like, I think we, next time we'll do this, we'll go somewhere else, because I think that they just felt that what we were bringing in terms of our crowd wasn't going to be enough for a Friday night, so they needed to like book an act to get more people in the door so that they could, be able to sell more beer. So,
well, what were the people who came for the show doing? Were they buying beer? Were they drinking? Like, what
yeah, I mean, I generally speaking, yeah, I mean, we accounted for probably about 1/3 of the people that were actually there. Mm-hmm. And I personally did not have anything because I was too busy, like, just having discussions and stuff like that. I also was like more hungry than anything else, so I was just kind of snacking on the food that was brought there too. Mm-hmm. And I just didn't feel like drinking at all because I also knew I had to go drive back home. So
right.
I wasn't participating in it.
Who brought the food?
Sal and Kieran did. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a good Costco run. Some vegetable platter, some of those turkey roll-ups that you have at Costco,
right.
Some chips and stuff. So,
So essentially, the brewery was kind of like, all right, we booked this pen thing because we don't have a choice. We can't say no because we're related to the owners of Goldspot. But at the same time, they needed more of a draw to get people in the door because it is a brewery. It's a beer place.
And it's a Friday night. You got to be able to make your money,
Yeah. Well, maybe instead of doing it somewhere else, because that brewery is a really great place to have an event like that.
It is. It's in a nice location, too.
Yeah. And I remember a few years ago, I went there for the Goldspot event that they had. It's such a great place. Maybe don't do it on a Friday night then. Maybe do it on a slower night.
That is true. Yeah, that is true. I think that's what we had done for that meetup the one time was we didn't do it on a Friday, I don't think. Mm-hmm. But we had to do it based on the fact that it was a Pelican Hub and that we had to all do it at the same time, kind of the same day. So we all had to do it on November 18th, and that was kind of the stipulation, I guess, behind it. So
I hear you, but I could also see from the perspective of a brewery where their bread and butter is people coming there to buy beer. You lose a lot if you got people filling up the real estate. They don't care about beer. They might get a beer. Like, for example, if I showed up, I certainly wouldn't drink a beer. You know what I mean? from their perspective, I can understand why the Pelican Hub can be a little bit of an imposition on their business goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, my other question is, the last time you did something at the brewery, how long ago was it, other than this Pelican Hub? It was years ago, right?
Yeah. I can't. I don't remember the exact year. Maybe it was 2018.
Yeah, it was some time ago. Why
Yeah.
not do that more often? Why only wait until it's an event like the Pelican Hub?
Well, I mean, this was kind of the first official foray back into it. I think that now that we're kind of seeing things open up a bit more, and that the specter of COVID, I still think is still apparent, that people are still concerned about that. I mean, I still am in the back of my head. I think just over the last 2 years or so, it's like it's not something that's going to easily just go away, even if like there's hardly any infections and things like that. It's just like it's something that's just now in the back of your head all the time. So I think that in the future, I mean, it's pretty tough during the winter because we're super busy, slammed with a huge high order volume that is not usually the case during the rest of the year. But we'll look to do some more of that stuff during that's the one comment I always got is like, oh, I wish I had a more advanced notice, or maybe I'll get you the next one, or I'm sorry I missed this one. I would love if you did another one. So I always hear that comment a lot, that like if you did them more frequently, you'd probably get a better following. Maybe not like the next one, but then the following one, and then following
Right,
one after.
it's an accumulation over time. And
Yeah, because as it becomes more regular, then people expect it, and they know what they could come to and enjoy about it. So
yeah, and I'm thinking also instead of making it a broad generic like pen meetup, make it a specific theme, right? Like instead of Pelican, maybe next time do a Leonardo meetup. And then the next time make it like something like a Bennu meetup or something like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or like, especially Bennu is a great brand to do it, because I've fallen in love with Bennu even harder recently. But there are
and a
people,
lot of that stuff, it looks fantastic in person, and the pictures really are difficult to capture, just the material and everything.
That's an excellent point. And what I'm also thinking is you might have pen people that are local in that area, or who are not local, like myself, who can travel there, and they might be like, hey, never heard of Bennu. Or, hey, I did hear of Bennu, but never really wanted to pull the trigger on one because I never got to write with one.
Yeah.
And they can go, and then they can experience it. And then maybe the next time, instead of doing a Bennu, take another small brand that's newer, like GIOIA or something like that,
Or like Kilk. You could do that one
Kilk
too.
is a great one.
That's a
You
good
know
one.
what you should also consider doing? The like an Esterbrook one, because those guys at Esterbrook, they're second to none when it comes to events like this. They would show up in force. You know what I mean? They'd have like a setup, the stand, signs, little tchotchkes, giveaways, toys. You know what I mean? They'll make a fantastic event if you decided to do one with Esterbrook and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then you can reach out to like different distributors and stuff like that.
You're really
like
trying to get the GIOIA pushed on me, aren't you? You're trying to get me to.
I just mentioned Esterbrook and Bennu.
Yeah, I heard GIOIA. You threw in the GIOIA, and you threw it in at the beginning too. You're
Oh,
like,
yeah, I did.
Goldspot doesn't carry GIOIA, but
Well, yeah, I mean, really, the new GIOIA Alba. It's such a gorgeous pen. I mean, there's so many nowadays. There's just so many acrylic fountain pens with Jowo number 6 size nibs. The GIOIA is no different, right? There's a lot of brands where it has a very vintagey vibe to it. Some of them are more modern and stuff like that. They're around $200. The pedigree is becoming identical. It's becoming samey. You know what I'm saying? But I do like the traditional nuances that GIOIA offers. For example, the Lost Wax clip. I love that. that's just a uniqueness that could give it an edge. You know what I'm saying? I like the girth. I like the weight of the GIOIA pens. I like the quality. But that's not to say other brands don't have that same quality. For example, you recently sent me the Leonardo Furore in ginger. Mm-hmm. That thing stole my breath when I opened it. Holy shit, gorgeous fucking pen. Mm-hmm. I can't even explain to you. It was so gorgeous, I couldn't even ink it up for like 3 days. I don't know what was the mental block there, but I'm like, this thing is so... It's like I didn't want to pop its cherry. I was just so impressed by how the Leonardo Furore ginger looked, and it's not even a green pen. It's not even a color scheme that I would consider, you know, just thinking off the top of my head. But looking at it, like if I were at a show and I saw that pen, I'd be like, wow, this is something, this is gorgeous. There's nothing original about it. It's a torpedo-shaped pen made of acrylic with a Jowo number 6 size nib. But where I give Leonardo the credit over all the other brands, and granted, I'm not sure what the price on the GIOIA Partenope Alba is.
I could look it up.
Yeah, we could look it up. But what impresses me to the core of my nutsack is the fact that the Leonardo is an Italian-made acrylic pen with a Jowo number 6 size nib unit for $156. Okay? Now, you compare that to other brands with the same pedigree, acrylic pen with a Jowo number 6 size nib that's cartridge converter filled, you're looking at closer to $200, whether it be GIOIA, whether it be Mayora, whether it be Esterbrook, right? These pens...
Yeah, I see the Partenope is, at least one of them I found with rose gold trim is $290 retail with
right.
$208 usually in
right.
price, I guess.
You know, it goes down to what, $208 you said?
Yeah, I think that's on sale for Black Friday on Atlas Stationer's website.
Right. Like I said, gorgeous pen, the Alba, the Partenope Alba by GIOIA. Gorgeous pen. Love it. Do I think that the section with the ballpoint being there kind of justifies the price being slightly over 200? 208, not particularly.
Would you get any use out of it? No.
It's just going to sit there. I mean, I love
now,
the
if
pen.
it was an ink ball, like the Skull and Roses...
Hold on. Stop. We
or
can't
the
use
fountain
terms.
ball, the fountain ball point.
I call it the
would
fountain ball pen because, first of all, you can't call it the ink ball because Jaffa Brands,
that's a Monteverde thing, yeah.
right, owns the rights to the name ink ball. Ink ball is what they call their fountain pen refillable rollerball pens. Mm-hmm. The Bennu, I like to call it the fountain ball pen because it's a rollerball that fills with fountain pen ink. Actually, I have it right here. I have it in the Crimson Skull and Roses. And nowadays, I find that I'm writing a lot where I have to press hard. And I love this thing. I love this thing to death. It is awesome. Do you like what I just did there? I said I love this thing to death and their Skull and Roses. Yeah? You like that?
Yeah, I like that.
So I've been really into the Bennu for the Skull and Roses. I've never been more in love with Bennu until Skull and Roses came out. Skull and Roses, to me, is by far, hands down, unequivocally my favorite Bennu series that was ever released. I think it's just awesome. It is so cool. Not everybody's cup of tea. Like, Karen, she's not really crazy about it. Karen, for anybody who doesn't know, is one of the owners, her and her husband, one of the owners of Goldspot Pens. She's not really crazy about it. But at the same time, she's kind of like that mom who gets really angry, loses her temper, and says, "Oh, phooey." You know what I mean? So, you know, I can see why it's not her cup of tea. Having said that, she can also recognize that people like me and a lot of people love it. And I was talking to her on the phone the other day. I said to her, the fountain pen industry and fountain pen followers, everything when it comes to the fountain pen vibe is very poetic and artistic. Everything is very refined and kind of dialed back, right? I think the element of a little macabre, is that the right word? Macabre.
Yeah, that's pronouncing it correct. Yeah.
I think that's a excellent flavor to add into it. I'm not saying I condone or I appreciate death and stuff like that, but it's cool. You know what I'm saying? It's a cool element to add to the flavors that are already out there. And I said this before, one of the biggest reasons I love Bennu is because they take risks. They unapologetically take risks. They'll do a Skull and Roses now, and then the next pen they release, it'll be like Bunnies and Kittens. Complete and total opposite, with designs that are new, right? Bennu is very innovative when it comes to fountain pens. And I being a lover of acrylic fountain pens, have been putting down my acrylic fountain pens in favor of the Bennu. I also have the black one. The black one's a fountain pen. But I'm just really impressed with the fountain ball pen. One of the biggest reasons I'm so impressed with it is because of the way it performs. I don't know if they're using the same manufacturer or same supplier or whatnot as the Alpha brands are. I can just say this. The Bennu Skull and Roses fountain ball pen performs noticeably better than the Ink Ball by Monteverde.
Okay.
And that might be because the Ink Ball by Monteverde, they're not capped pens. They're exposed to the air all the time. So maybe it's drying out. Maybe if it were a capped pen, it would be performing better. I don't know. I just find that if you unscrew the fountain ball section of the Bennu, it's built the same way as a fountain pen nib and feed unit. It has the same housing that screws in, and then you connect a converter or cartridge to it. The same concept. So I don't personally believe the fountain ball pen that the Bennu company uses. I don't think they're using a wicking system, right? So like a lot of roller balls, it's a wick that absorbs the ink and saturates the wick and then runs it to the tip. I don't think that this is the case because I run it in water, it runs clear, and then you write with a wet tip, it's just clear. It's not continually inking faded ink onto the page.
Right.
So I change colors several times, and I'm noticing it's a clean swap between colors. So, I don't know, I'm really enjoying it. I really like the fountain ball pen. I think they should adopt that name.
Does Rollerball Paul approve?
Let me ask. Hey, Rollerball Paul. Do you approve? Yes, I do. It's a fantastic rollerball. I love it. So Rollerball Paul certainly approves of the fountain ball.
I love that Rollerball Paul happens to be nearby.
You know, he came by, he texted me earlier that he was, all right, that's enough. I love you too. He came by to let me know that he was here to visit because he wanted to check out the fountain ball pen, you know, and he's really happy, as you can see.
Did you happen to take, was like ventriloquism like an elective in your musical conservatory? Did they also have that, you know? No. Because you seem like you're pretty comfortable with doing that.
My lips were totally moving, dude.
I know, but like you were comfortable with having him act as you were talking at the same time. Like like he was acting on his own, you know, kind of doing his own thing.
He is acting on his own. See? Holy cow. What are you talking about? I am Rollerball Paul. All right. I need work on it. You need to shut up now. Fuck you. No, fuck you. Fuck you.
Rollerball Paul, come on.
Don't talk back.
Rollerball Paul, ladies and gentlemen.
For anybody who doesn't know, Rollerball Paul is not, in fact, a real person, and he is fine if you're concerned. Okay.
If you're listening to this on audio, he totally took out a puppet, and it was amazing.
I ground and pounded my puppet, Rollerball Paul. So yeah, but yeah, if you had these events at the Red Tank Brewery, or anywhere for that matter, you could even do it at your new location, the new Goldspot location. Is there a space big enough for that?
Yeah, but that's like probably at least like a few years down. Even if it does happen at this point, it's very it's an ongoing headache of a project. So.
Okay, I mean, listen, it's fair, but my point is, theme each meetup
With a different brand or a different focus,
right? And then plan it out. Like do them quarterly and say, you know, first quarter is going to be this brand, second quarter is going to be this brand, third quarter is going to be this brand. Give something people to look forward to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm definitely going to go to that one. You know what I mean? Because I think what you said, the feedback was that somebody was like, I wish I had more notice, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I think that would be a good idea.
I like it.
Yeah, you were going to talk about Black Friday specials that Goldspot is going to be having.
I'll bring that up.
Alrighty. Now, while you're talking about that, I'm going to go make a wee-wee because I had 3 of these seltzer waters before I got on. So you start talking about that.
All right. So let me do this here just so that folks on YouTube will be able to see what I have. Oh, Rollerball Paul's taking Roy's place here on the chair. So let me share. I'm going to share the Black Friday and Cyber Week. We affectionately call it Cyber Week now because it's no longer Black Friday. I mean, let's just face it. Black Friday is really not Black Friday anymore. It's like 3 weeks ago we started talking about Black Friday, or in July we started talking about Black Friday. So what Goldspot decided to do is just do the whole entire week, up and from this Monday to next Monday, which is Cyber Monday. Deals all week long as they could possibly last. So, of course, though, you kind of have to do something a little bit extra special on Black Friday, which I'll explain. But right now, what's kicking off are a couple of, actually 4 deals that are going on right now. 25% off everything in Faber-Castell. That's something that doesn't happen very often because Faber is usually a full list price brand, and they don't allow discounting. It's one of those brands that Roy alludes to earlier in the podcast about, you know, coupon codes aren't supposed to apply to them and whatnot. Same thing with Narwhal or Navalor, of which you could find now the 2 ebonite pens that you see there, the green and the blue, as well as the Stylophora berry, which is kind of like a dark violet color ebonite pen, and those are now 20% off, which is unusual for Navalor because they're usually, like I said, full list price. And those are great values to begin with because it's ebonite, it's a piston fill, it's a great, you know, stainless steel nib.
Can I just ask you something?
Okay.
Well, let me first say, one of the things that I despise about Black Friday deals or deals that people say is, like, let's say, for example, not just in pens, this is just across all industries. A product is $100, but they're allowed to discount it 20%, so it's normally $80. What a lot of people will do, or a lot of vendors across all industries, again, is they'll say, oh, get 20% off sale. But the price is still $80 because they'll just show it being $100.
Right.
And then, so it's really not a sale. It's just re-advertising.
It's just what it's like usually available for.
Right. So this is not the case with the Faber-Castell and the Navalor, right? Because they usually don't even get the 20% discount, but now they are for this week.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. So, and also Retro 51, yet another brand that's not usually discountable. These styles are available up to 35% off, 35 being the 2 limited edition Gymkhana pens. And then there's the First Ride. So the Gymkhana and the First Ride are poppers, which are the limited edition ones that are engraved with the serial numbers on them. The Gymkhana we've had since like the end of 2020, when the company was originally thought to be going out of business, or that the business wasn't defined as to what was going to happen after the owner was selling it. So this is like one of the last editions from there. So it's over 2 years old. Still, there's pieces out there. So those are being discounted, along with the Brutus, which is the Barber Pole one there too.
But wait a minute. Are these pens, these Retro 51s that are 35% off, are they're pens that are being discounted? So it's not across all Retro 51s. It's only these select Retro 51s.
Just these select ones. And also, in addition to that, it's also, which I clicked on the link here just to show what's on clearance in the retro. So there's also the exclusive blue ombre, which is usually they're not sold anything below full list price either, but this is 20% off for it. And it's a great price for a fountain pen, $46.40 for a fountain pen.
Yeah,
with a Jowo stainless steel nib.
Nice.
So
Okay.
yeah, so that's a pretty decent price there too.
Can I bring something up and ask a question that may seem confrontational but is not confrontational?
Okay, well this is the Pendertainment podcast. Let's rumble. Let's do it. What's that?
I think that these sales would be awesome if they applied across all models. But the fact that they're only applied to models that are existing for like the last 2 years because people aren't buying them, isn't this kind of like a exploitive way of just trying to get rid of stock that you don't want to have around anymore?
Well, in the case of the Gymkhana, yes, but First Ride and Brutus were releases from this year. So
Okay.
those were more recent, but it's
Fair enough.
It's a similar circumstance where, I mean, of course, if as like a brand or a retailer, if something's selling well and you don't have to discount it, then they're not going to do that. But in this case, you know, as an additional bonus for stock that's still available, here are discounts for them. That's what the kind of the logic behind it is that they want to be able to.
But how, you know,
They
as like a consumer, how awesome would it be, and how great of a show of appreciation to customers wouldn't it be if instead of just saying, hey, the stuff that is not normally doing as well will be discounted, they just discounted everything, especially, you know, since it's Cyber Week or Black Friday or whatever it is. Like, why not do that? I understand you don't have to, but
well, that's the approach that Faber-Castell took with their, because they just allowed everything across the board.
oh, okay.
So 25 off is on everything. Navalor, Narwhal, whichever you want to call it. That's only just the 3 Ebonite models within the Nautilus collection.
And what's their reasoning for that? Why not across all Nautilus, Navalar?
Don't know about that particularly. They basically some of these things are just allowed to do what it is. Especially, like I said, these are brands that usually do not allow much wiggle room, if at all, in any sort of discounting during the entire part of the year. And this is like their one lone exception. So I don't know the reasoning behind that.
Wouldn't you say
but
second exception? Because Fountain Pen Day is also another one.
Yeah. I mean, well, with that, let's say with the Narwhal stuff, the like free crabs were being given with that for Goldspot. So you got some free crabs with your order. But if you want a free item plus a discounted product, there's this beautiful blue celluloid pen that you're looking at there, which is a new exclusive that was just released today. Was the Montegrappa Venetia. Which is it's the turquoise celluloid that I absolutely love. I have that Leonardo Momento Zero and that same type of celluloid, and it doesn't usually pop up that often because celluloid's really hard to make and it's super flammable, and you know things happen with super flammable materials that, of course, you know prohibit the making of more pens with because it could all of a sudden explode. So you know. This is not usually something you'd see that often, but we were able to get a nice like batch of these pens made from Montegrappa, and also offer them with Montegrappa ink. And then you know it's not a full list price item; it's offered at a discount as well. So
when you say you just said we were able to get a batch of these made. We being who?
we're at Goldspot.
Oh, so these are exclusive to Goldspot?
Yes.
Oh, how come it doesn't say that?
It doesn't say it here, but if you hop on over to the main part of so if you're on the homepage, you'd see Grailworthy exclusive, blah blah blah. That's that stuff there. So
whoa, $995. Yours for $200.
That is that is this. So for some reason, I don't know why, but if you look at here, it's actually $1,200 is the retail, and it's $995. But for some reason on this page, it's only showing the $995. I don't know the reason why that is.
Do you remember what you paid for the Leonardo in the same material that you're so in love with?
Oh, it was definitely it was less than that. But I mean, that's the reason why I feel like Leonardo is such a great value brand, because like it's not priced as Montegrappa pens usually are. So I think that one originally retail was going for around like six or 700, I forget, around that area. It definitely wasn't above 1,000, but for the most part, any celluloid Montegrappa pen's going to be over 1,000 easy.
That's true. That's true. Except for the Mia 450, I think those were like 800, right?
I think maybe.
Mia 450s. I really did love those. What else? What else do you got? I actually want to go back to what you just talked about in terms of. Well, I completely forgot.
Here. Oh, we were talking about the different sales and the reason why some of them pick certain items, or whether they could be like applicable to everything else, that sort of thing, or
no, that wasn't it.
Or
no, I can't remember what it was. I did want to show a pen. Oh yeah, I did want to show I want to talk about the Leonardo a little bit more. The ginger, the Furore ginger, a little bit more.
Well, just before I close this, I just want to let everybody know that also too is that there's more deals that happen throughout the entire week, so just keep an eye out for on this page. There will be updates made throughout the week, and then on Black Friday there will be a new exclusive pen launch just for Black Friday. So it's a week-long process, and more fun stuff happens throughout the week, and it just will be continually valid throughout the entire week until next Monday, Cyber Monday.
Okay. So before you close out, just go over to the Leonardo Furore.
The ginger?
I always say, the ginger. I want to just take a look at that one. And 149. I thought it was 160 or 159.
No, it's 149.
Is this a Black Friday week special?
No, it can be if you'd like for it to be.
Well, I mean, I thought it was 159.
It was 150. Like it's 149.95. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the Leonardo Furore fountain pen in ginger. I wish I had it with me, but it's such a gorgeous pen. Super well made. It's got some density to it. It's just a gorgeous pen. Now, you're showing it with other colors and stuff like that. And I like how you're showing that with other colors, because the one on the right has like the turquoise colors and purples and blues. But the ginger, it almost looks like a natural rock formation. Everybody at work was impressed with it. And it's such a wonderful pen. I am just blown away by how wonderful the Furore is. It's my favorite Leonardo model by far. But what impresses me is the price. $149. That is less than an Edison. An Edison is nothing to sneeze at. That is less than a Franklin Christoph. The cost $149 for an Italian handmade acrylic fountain pen with a Jowo nib. The converter is just, to me, astounding, especially if you compare it, like I said, to Edison, which is $169, or is it $169 now? I think it's $169.
Yes. Yeah.
And Franklin Christoph, which is close to that, also $160, $170. Especially if you compare it to a brand like Esterbrook, the Esterbrook Estie, which is also a great pen, but it's like the Esterbrook. What is Esterbrook now? 200 on the dot? An Esterbrook Estie?
I was gonna bring that up here. Let's see, SDs. It's an oversized.
Well, it's not fair to compare it to the oversized. The oversized is a much larger pen.
Why is this dropping down here? Okay, there we go. So that's oversized. Where's the other? Just the regular one. No, that's like 310. No, that can't be 310.
So there's a honeycomb.
No, you know what? Because it's picking up the prices for like the premium nibs. So like, let's say for example here, the Maui with the gold trim.
Okay, so yeah,
just their standard medium nib is $195.
Right. So the standard Esterbrook Estie with a Jowo number 6 size nib is $195. Okay, now, like I said, these guys are fantastic at marketing and branding. Now, you look at that Maui, that's a very vibrant, awesome-looking pen. That acrylic is also a standard stock acrylic that you see in pens that range from $20 all the way up to $200. I've seen that acrylic before, or similar acrylics. And this is a fantastic pen also. This one is $195, standard cartridge acrylic, standard cartridge converter pen with a Jowo nib. It's a great pen. But I think that if you compare it to the Leonardo Furore, it doesn't hold its weight against it. Especially being that, you know, the Esterbrook, as much as I love it, they're made by an Asian company. I'm not knocking Asian companies. I am Asian.
Are you? Really?
Yeah, I know.
Oh.
It's hard to believe. But wonderful pen the Esterbrook Estie is. But, like, listen, if I had a choice between an Esterbrook Estie or a Leonardo Furore, and you compare the pedigree, on one hand, the Esterbrook Estie is made in Taiwan, I believe. It's made by the same company that makes Wancher. And it has a Jowo number 6 size nib. It has a cartridge converter, but it's a standard Schmidt cartridge converter. Versus the Leonardo Furore, which is made in Italy by the brand itself, meaning the brand isn't having the pens made by another company, but they make the pens themselves. And it's made in Italy. It's made with acrylics that I find are more unique, not as standard or stock. You know what I'm saying? Like, I believe that Leonardo, they actually, and correct me if I'm wrong, they oftentimes source their materials from European material makers, or they make the materials themselves. Is that right?
A lot of it, I know a significant part of it, some of the designs that you'll see come from this this one manufacturer, Sintetica, which is an Italian manufacturer of acrylics and resins.
Mm-hmm.
They have their own Instagram page, and it is like a dream to go browsing through this.
Right.
I love just like looking at all the different materials and things. So you could see some of the designs that had been made previously in like the Leonardo Cuspide and the Momento Magicos and things. So you could see some of them that did make it out of there. Some of the materials too is like you just don't see them really anywhere else too. Yeah, some of them are really something else.
Yeah. So going back to the pedigree of the Leonardo, even the converters are screw-in converters. They're also customized in that they have the metal knob in the back instead of just a regular cheap plastic. They're branded. The acrylics are more exclusive. The acrylics are actual Italian acrylics. Mm-hmm. For $150 less, if I'm holding the two next to each other, which one would you say you would get?
Oh, you know that this is a completely biased answer from me.
100% for you. Yeah.
Yeah, you like anybody who's listened to a few episodes of this podcast knows I'm a huge Leonardo fanboy.
Right,
so,
you're huge.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though. I'm a huge Esterbrook fanboy, and I'm less of a Leonardo fanboy than I am of an Esterbrook fanboy for the time being. But it's like I feel like the Leonardo in comparison is the new champion, 100%.
Mm-hmm. Well, recently it's because of the fact we essentially have parity of the U.S. dollar versus the euro. So originally, we were looking at the prices, and you would easily compare an Estie versus a Leonardo because most of them were being sold for the Furores or the Momento Zeros. The cartridge converter pens were around that $200 mark, but since the euro has come down, the dollar's still strong, the purchasing power is a lot more favorable for U.S. dealers to then be able to be competitive with each other and with the European dealers, because European dealers were always able to have it at a minus VAT discount. So anybody shopping at, let's say, Casa della Stilografica or like Appleboom or any of the other European dealers would usually be able to see a Leonardo at a lesser cost because it was minus the value-added tax that generally people within the Eurozone would have to pay. But now U.S. dealers are able to compete with them and then be able to lower the price. So now you're like looking at what was even, I think, a great value to begin with is now even a more amazing value, and it's something to take advantage of while the currency conditions are good, because if once that changes, then there's not going to be much room for margin and with shipping and everything. So U.S. dealers would then have to raise their prices at some point if the euro does rebound, in the future against the dollar.
But going back to the comparison between an Esterbrook Estie and a Leonardo Furore, it's definitely a unanimous decision for Leonardo. But where no one can touch Esterbrook is if you look at the nib options. Who else has look at these insane nib options that Esterbrook offers. Journalier Italic, Scribe Architect, Needlepoint. Get the fuck out of here. There's no other brand that can pull that off, right? Now, granted, you're paying another $60 for it, but what you're paying for, like you have Needlepoint clicked on, what you're paying for is superstar Josh Lax's work, individual work on that nib.
Kirk Spears for that one.
Oh, Kirk Spears.
Josh Lax is the architect.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry. So, Needlepoint. You're paying for Kirk Spears' Needlepoint, which is fantastic. You're paying for Josh Lax's Scribe Architect. Who does the Journalier Italic?
That's Gina Solarino.
Okay, so Gina Solarino. Cool name. Gina Solarino's individual work. You're not paying for something machined. You're paying for handcrafting of the nib on these nibs. And what's great is that there are options. Like, you don't have to pay more for it. You can just go with the standard nibs. But my thing is, if I'm going to get an Esterbrook Estie over a Leonardo Furore, it would be because of the Scribe Architect Needlepoint or Journalier Italic. It definitely wouldn't be for the pen build or the pen itself, because as far as I'm concerned, the Leonardo Furore, the tolerances, the build quality is just superior. You know what I'm saying? But then again, like I said, nobody else offers a Scribe Architect Needlepoint and Journalier Italic, which is kind of really cool.
It is.
Yeah. Go back to the Leonardo Furore. I want to show that one again, because that one is just gorgeous. It's just, and even when you're writing with it, holding it, capped, uncapped, whatever it is, it's just such a euphoric sense. Like the refinement of this pen, the way it caps and uncaps is consistent. It's smooth. There's a slight step at the barrel, what almost looks like a third center band. Right. The number of rotations are the same. It's just well-crafted, fine workmanship. At $149.95. That is baffling for what you're getting. Because Italian brands like this, if they charge $300, it would make sense. $150 though, that to me is astounding. Is this a limited edition? Because it looks like you're running out of nib sizes. Like, you're out of fine and medium, but you have extra fine, broad 1.1.
No, it's just there's usually a long restock period, because you have to order everything from Italy, and then Italy's producing the part, the entire order. It usually can take like up to 4 to 6 weeks if something's back ordered for it to come back into stock. So
I see.
Now, if you're shopping around for gifts, it's something to take into consideration, because you have a nib that you want to get, and it's also too is that we could swap them pretty easily too. Yeah, it's just a screw-in Jowo nib unit. So
yeah, gorgeous pen. Now, I want to make sure that I'm really clear about this. So the difference between Leonardo and Esterbrook is that Leonardo doesn't have a distributor, and they are pen makers. They make pens and sell pens. They don't distribute them. They sell direct to the retailers. Now, if, for example, Leonardo did have a distributor, this pen would never be able to be $150. This pen would be closer to $200, maybe more. Esterbrook, on the other hand, they are not pen makers. They're a pen brand that has the pens made. The owners of Esterbrook is Kenro Industries, and they have the pens made by Wancher, and because that they're not the pen makers, they have to pay to get them made. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is someone can easily and incorrectly say, well, Esterbrook, they're just greedy for money. That's not the case. The fact that they're not pen makers and they're a pen brand, and they have to pay to get things made, and then they have to market it, they have to pay for materials, pay for the work, pay for everything. What they have to do is charge that $200, that $50 extra. Otherwise,
yeah, they don't own the means of production. They're not
exactly.
you're not going to have Carey, Mr. Fountain Pen Day. He's not grinding nibs or putting together the piston mechanisms and things like that. He is they're the ones that are doing the R&D to, let's say, make prototypes, figure out which colors to go with, the marketing materials that go with it. They're doing all the other work except for actually manufacturing the pens themselves.
And they're also in a situation, and people don't know this, being that they're a pen brand, they can't just order samplings of 150 pens. So Leonardo can easily say, hey, let's take this acrylic and let's just make 150 of them and put it out there. Esterbrook, they have to actually order thousands that accommodate each nib size. So like if there's 5 nib sizes, they can't just order 250 of each piece. No, the manufacturers that make it, they demand a certain quantity. They'll say we need 1,000 of each. So that's a total of 5,000. So the investment is not only large and significant, it's extremely risky. So that also plays part into why the cost is where it's at. It's $200 because they're a pen brand, not a pen maker. They have to pay for everything. They have to market it. They got to do everything they got to do to sell them, and then they come back with a little cheddar at the end. You know what I'm saying? So where people are going to be like, oh, they're just greedy, they're charging too much because they're arrogant, is certainly not the case. The case is that they're also very smart business people. This has to be viable for them to exist, and it has to be sustainable, which if they were charging $150 for an Estie, they'd be at a negative. They'd be at a loss. So just know that before you cast judgment against the people at Esterbrook.
I don't know. Maybe you might be jumping the gun a little bit here.
What's that?
I maybe being very, very harsh on that whole price difference thing, because I don't know if people will understand it or not, or just automatically jump to the idea that they're being maliciously greedy, that sort of thing.
Oh, you mean thinking that people will think that?
Yeah.
Well, that's really, you can close the screen. That's not really me being harsh on other people. It's more of a telling of who I am, really, because I'm like that. You know what I mean? I am certainly, and it's a character flaw that I have. If I see something go up in price, my immediate response is, oh, those dickheads, they're being greedy and stuff like that. And I wouldn't assume other people would think like that unless I thought like that myself.
Yeah, especially these days with just inflation, how everything's gone up in price. I kind of feel that it's just part of just life these days with stuff going up in price.
Yeah.
I just was at the grocery store and could not find any romaine hearts at ShopRite. No bowl and basket romaine hearts for me. I had to get like baby greens and spinach, like the container of salad, like the big plastic container, because the Fresh Express or the bowl and basket version of it, those bag salads, no bueno. First of all, that's like one of the main offenders when it comes to getting all of those like tricky, like those recalls that they usually do because of that, stuff that's usually in there, the stuff that gives you the, food poisoning or whatever.
Sure.
Are usually in the salad bags. So
I didn't know that.
we decided not to go, and also my wife had distress from having a salad bag recently, so I was like, all right, we're going with the big plastic tub because we couldn't find any romaine hearts, and then a freaking thing of iceberg lettuce was $6, and they're usually $2 a piece. I'm like, I just don't participate in this nonsense. If
Right.
something's going to be really ridiculously expensive right now, unless I absolutely need it's necessary, I'm just going to say, you know what, I can find an alternative. Let me buy, because bananas for some reason are just continually 40 cents a pound. I'm buying up bananas. It's bananas. That's what it is, man. It's bananas.
Yeah. Well, it's a good potassium source. I think it's the highest source of potassium that you can get, more than an avocado even. Did you know that a banana is a berry?
Is it?
Yeah, it's a berry. My niece told me that, and I didn't believe her, so I Googled it, and she's right.
Damn.
She told me that when she was 8 years old. So I got schooled on bananas by an 8-year-old, but
That
she's
is
smart.
bananas.
But yeah, going back to anybody, if you feel like I'm being harsh on the public about their opinions or their would-be opinions on Esterbrook, don't feel bad. I can't tell you how to feel, but know that I'm actually being harsh on myself more so than other people, because that's what I would do. The PlayStation 5 games are $69.99. It went from $59.99 to $69.99. I'm like, these fucking selfish, greedy bastards. But I'm not taking into account the millions and millions of dollars and hundreds of people that work to put that game together, and then $10 increase makes it more livable for those people who are making video games and stuff. But to me, that $10, I'm like, that's a fucking outrage. I can't believe they're charging $69.99 for Call of Duty or God of War on PlayStation 5, which I don't have yet, by the way. So I actually just
You don't have the PlayStation 5 yet?
No, I just bought the PlayStation 4 God of War Ragnarok, GOWR, because what I'm finding out is that the new PlayStation 5 can't even play God of War Ragnarok at 4K at 60 frames per second. It can only go up to 30 frames per second. So what am I going to buy the PlayStation 5 for if the PlayStation 4 Pro can do the same thing? You know what I mean?
I guess so.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like enough of an upgrade at this point in time. I'll tell you right now, the day and the moment and the second The Last of Us 3 drops, that PlayStation 5 is going to be in my house waiting and ready for The Last of Us 3. If I
It's
can,
like the whole entire schedule for the entire week. You called out vacation. It's like, don't bother me.
Yeah.
Don't. The cats are in a completely different room. You lock them in.
100%.
You close the little doors.
Yeah.
The little kitty doors that they try. It was like, no one bother me.
if I have
It's
to
Last of Us 3 time.
if I have to wear Thanos' Infinity Gauntlet and snap everybody away just to leave me alone so I can play that game for a full week, I will.
Bro, you haven't been to the gym in 3 days. It's like, I don't care right now. I'm in the
Leave
middle
me
of
alone.
something.
I got important business to do. But yeah, look, dude, it's getting late. We gotta wrap this
right.
up. But again, thanks for joining us. Sorry I missed last week. I really had fun this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well, and you guys don't think I was being overly harsh. I was just, as you know.
Yeah, stay safe while shopping out there, ladies and gentlemen.
Stay safe while shopping out there.
Yeah, it's Black Friday. You could be releasing some big bucks out there, but do it wisely.
Yeah. Also, be careful. Be very careful. People get crazy during Black Friday. Nothing you buy is worth your safety. Let me just leave it on the table like that. There's nothing that you can buy that is worth a moment of your safety. Let it go. You don't need it that much. Please be safe. Just back
Don't
off.
let the FOMO take over.
No.
It's fine. It's just material things. You can't
Right.
take it with you.
Back off the road rage. Just let the person cut in front of you, whatever. Back off. Your safety comes first. I don't want to hear any stories on the news about someone who is a fountain pen enthusiast being injured or worse. So please keep everything into perspective. Stay safe. I love you guys. Be well. Be safe.
Stay inky.